Welcome back to Action Indoor Sports Toombul, ladies and gentlemen. It is the finals of the National Indoor Cricket League. I'm Cameron Walter alongside Gary Lowe, and coming up next, it is the Hoppers Hurricanes up against the Mid-North Coast Mavericks in the first round game of the women's division here at the NICL finals. Gary, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Cameron Walter.
And we've just seen a great start in the men's division. Now it's time for the ladies. These two teams, the champions of their respective zones around the country in the National Indoor Cricket League. We're a couple of minutes away from getting back underway. Why don't you take us through the team lineups?
It'd be my pleasure to do so. The Hoppers Hurricanes look exactly like this. Their captain, Bryony Polkinghorn, and what an absolute champion she is. I'm sure we'll talk about her a lot more during this game. Claire Haynes, Soon Rose, Alana Misson, Tamsin Wright, Nellie Hayhurst, Liz Pearce and Hayley Landy. The Mid-North Coast Mavericks, led by captain Ellen Hetherington, the number 3, Jo Borger, Georgie Martin, Chloe Johnson, Janine McKenzie, my apologies, Anika Leroyd, Melissa Muse and Kirsten Smith.
The umpire for the match will be Hayden Brum from Queensland. I think you'll find that all except for one of the umpires here this weekend will be from Queensland. If you are unfamiliar with the National Indoor Cricket League, it has been taking place throughout this year right around the country. There are many zones out there. The champions of their respective zones have assembled here this weekend for the final series. In the women's division, they'll play each other a couple of times, and at the end of it, the top 2 teams will face off in the women's final. In the men's, we've got 2 pools. They'll play each other once, and the top 2 teams from each pool will play each other in the semi-finals. And, well, for all of the finalists, the opportunity is there for some cold, hard cash. $46,000 in prize money available to all of the teams competing here at the National Indoor Cricket League Final Series. Pretty attractive prize money there, Lowy.
Yeah, it's awfully attractive. Yeah, the winners get $10,000. The runners-up of each side gets $5,000, and each competing side receives $1,000. So I've never in my wildest dreams imagined you'd be able to play indoor cricket for cash, but here we are in NICL number 3, and it's exciting stuff. Who's going to win this game? I'm absolutely miffed. I've been doing my homework. I've taken my shoes and my socks off. I've got out of the abacus, mate. I'm doing numbers. I'm crunching everything. And I honestly couldn't pick a winner for this one, mate. So I'm going to sit on the fence, get some splinters in my bum, and watch this next 32 overs with a great deal of intent.
Gee, you threw some euphemisms in there. Yeah, you're on fire.
Now I've got no more gear for the remaining
game. Hasn't even started, mate. Okay, so as you can see on your screen there, it is the Mid-North Coast Mavericks who will be batting first. The captain, Ellen Hetherington, is at the crease. Her partner, the non-striker's end, is Kirsten Smith. And we're underway.
Yeah, the official for this match is umpire Hayden Brum. And he is a local Toombulan, Toombulinian.
What's a collective noun?
He umpires here, that's what I can tell you.
So Lana Myson is the bowler. And so it's 2 balls under her belt now, 3 runs so far from the over. That one run flirting with a little bit of danger, but the Hurricanes not coming up with a wicket. You've watched a bit of NICL this year, Lowy. You in amongst those euphemisms told us you can't pick a winner. You see this ball get bowled and punished into the back court there for 4 runs from the Mid-North Coast Mavericks skipper. Might not be able to pick a winner for us, but can you tell us what you expect a good score to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go down a bit of a limb here too, mate. I reckon we're going to see a score of about 120. There's going to be some pretty heavy hitting, particularly from the Hoppers side. Mid-North Coast, I mean, I'm gonna tip that the Hoppers will win. Can I put it in the same leg multi? I'm going to tip that they're going to win and that they'll score more than 120 runs. And I reckon that there'll be over 205 runs scored in the game. I should write this down.
Well, it's on film, so I'm sure someone will remind you.
Go back. So 205 total. Hoppers to score 120 plus, and Hoppers to win.
There you have it, folks. That's the prediction with 1 over under his belt from Gary the Show Low. None for 10 off the bowling of Alana Myson. a good start there for the Mavericks. Their skipper sending one of them into the backcourt. That's always handy. And, well, if Gary Lowe's right and the Hurricanes have got 120-odd in them, then the Mavericks will need a few more overs like that one.
And it's always tricky, as we watch this first delivery come down. Again, we were talking about it off camera, that the statistics from their respective competitions don't have a great deal of weight or importance in this game. You know, the Hoppers crossing side, they've been playing against the Kings.
Oh, that's a fantastic piece of fielding there. Sorry to interrupt you there, Lowy, but
you got to interrupt me for that, mate.
Liz Pearce, the no-look flick from the three line. Check it out on the replay, thanks to playcricket.com.au, making no mistake and running out the Mavericks skipper. What a huge wicket early in the game.
Woo. If that's anything to go by, this weekend's going to be full of action, no doubt. Outstanding play.
Full centre of the backcourt, it finds the net, and they immediately make up for the loss of that wicket.
And we saw that with the men's game earlier on, and we're going to see it throughout this tournament. Wickets, lots of them, runs, heaps of them. As that's uppishly hit into the two nets, no dismissal. You know, talking about Hoppers, you know, during this season, you know, they're averaging somewhere around about 130, thereabouts, but they're playing teams that aren't here in this competition. The Kings and Raiders, the MP Bombers, Monash Tigers. So it's not like for like, it's not apples with apples. And every team here are champions. There's not a single team here that isn't a champion.
In the women's, that's true. It's not true in the men's.
Yes, of course, Strathpine got the silver medal.
Yeah. Queensland getting 2 teams in just to even things up. So their runners-up come in. But, yeah, other than that, you're right. A tournament of champions.
And the Queensland competition extraordinarily healthy as well. A lot more teams battling out. Some divisions in the NICL. You know, 4, 5, 6. Queensland, let's try to figure out this 11. That's definitely at least 9. So, yeah, quite just. I think they've got a couple in there.
Yeah, I've always thought how interesting it'd be to see the runner-up from Queensland go on to win the national final at the expense or instead of the champion in Queensland in the zone. So they've lost the wicket, the Mavericks, but the scoring has been good. There are 19 runs with still 11 balls to play. Your predictions of a high-scoring affair here are probably on the money, Lowy. It's more runs there to the Mavericks skipper. Also captain of the New South Wales side is Ellen Hetherington, and a former Australian player. A pretty handy player to have as their skipper for the Mavericks. Her partner, again, Kirsten Smith, former junior representative for the New South Wales countryside. Mid-North Coast, of course, a beautiful part of the country. I don't know if you spent much time there, Lowy, but up around that sort of Port Macquarie area. Beautiful, beautiful part of New South Wales and indeed Australia.
Yeah, it's a pretty special place. I was in Port Macquarie for the Open Men's and Women's Trans-Tasman that took place 3 years ago. And it was one of those, a real exquisite look out there. It's like a lighthouse type arrangement they've got going on there at Port Macquarie. And stunning. Grab some fish and chips, Pepsi Max, it was great.
And taken, the safe pair of hands of Bryony Polkinghorne, makes no mistake there. And you said it before, lots of runs, lots of wickets. That's what we're seeing here now, Lowy. Plenty of runs on the board, but the wickets continue to fall. And 19 on the board with 1 over to come. This will be a very interesting over. I don't think the Mavericks are going to shy away from playing their shots.
No, and you're going to see that not only at the National Indoor Cricket League Championships, but in this division. It's been something that's been happening all throughout. I haven't missed a game of the National Indoor Cricket League while it's been on. The good majority of them I've watched live. A few of them just due to other commitments I've had to watch on the replay the next day in the morning, because of course the Yellow Ball podcast goes live on the Monday talks about what happened on the Sunday, so I've got to make sure I know what the hell I'm talking about. And you see that a lot in the women's division. The scores have been massive.
Tamsin Wright is bowling this over here. Played fairly well through the gap there. It was a flat shot, but safe there from Kirsten Smith. Brings the skipper back on a strike. Oh, a little edge there. Not taken. I think it was a little bottom edge. Yeah, just straight down. Very tentative from the skipper. That delivery makes up for it with a chip up down. Straight out of the Cameron Walter playbook, the good old up down in indoor cricket. We move to 24 now with 3 balls remaining. And the 2 runs to Smith. She's looked pretty comfortable.
Yeah, for those playing the home game, I almost died just in front of everyone just then. I got very emotional and started coughing my lungs up. I'm back though, Cam.
I was trying to cover for you, mate. You gave yourself away.
I did. You did a wonderful job.
The umpire not sure of what that hit. He's asking the question, and from our position up here in the commentary box, I'm not quite sure either. Turns out it was a single, and 1 ball remains. Yeah, wonderful shot to finish from Smith. 3 runs, and they move to 30. A great opening partnership for the Mid-North Coast Mavericks, batting first here in the first round game in the Women's National Indoor Cricket League Final Series. Gary Lowe, you've said the words. The Yellow Ball podcast, no doubt, will be a bumper edition following the final series. Tell us what's in store.
Yeah, we've got a cracker. Obviously, we're going to have all the interviews. I think I'm not too sure if you're doing pre-game interviews this time around, which will be broadcast. Have you been told about that? I'm not too sure, but in any event, we're going to be securing that content regardless, and certainly interviews with the winning captains. Also going to have a bit of a chat with the Eastern Shore Bombers from Tasmania.
Yeah, good. Very interesting.
Yeah, really want to put a bit of a magnifying glass on those guys, just to get a bit of a feel for what's happening down there in Tassie, and on their thoughts on what it's like coming to the mainland and being a part of what's happening here in Queensland. Obviously, they'll be keen to take away what Queensland do, and I've already seen the Queenslanders and the guys from New South Wales getting together, having a chat with the Tassie guys. Everyone's very supportive of Tasmania. I would love to see them back in the national. Mate, I would love it. I mean, the Tassie ladies won a championship. It's the first ever women's national titles was won by a Tasmanian side.
Their men's side dominated for a couple of years there too.
Love to see them back in. I know that the Lord Taverners Shield had a Tasmanian contingent that was down at Springvale possibly 4 or 5 years ago, and it's just brilliant. I think that's a really big goal, is to get Tasmania back. And they've got talent coming out the wazoo. The indoor cricket centre they've got down there, the high performance centre there at Tassie, is world class. It's absolutely brilliant. So there's no reason why they shouldn't get more involved. So yeah, a big episode coming up. The last few episodes have been huge. We had Brianna Binch that was on recently. We had Sean Ongers, captain of the 35 English side. We had Billy Brink, who plays in the 35 South African side, most valuable player at the Dubai World Cup. Some mega big names of indoor cricket, a 2-part discussion with Brenton Bryan, who plays in the Australian Master side, and coach of the Open men's team. So yeah, it's been a big last couple of weeks, and the final episode coming up will go live on Monday evening.
There you go, and a great start there for Annika Leroy. 3 runs to her partner Chloe Johnson on strike. Janelle Hayhurst is the bowler. That's her second delivery, and not picked there by Johnson. Let's assume I've never listened to the Yellow Ball podcast. Where would I do that if I wanted to?
Mate, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Whooshka, or wherever you find your podcasts. I've been told not to say iTunes anymore from my podcast producer. It's all Apple Podcasts. You're a tech man. Do you understand podcasts and all that kind of stuff?
I'm not a podcast guy, but yeah, I do know that Apple are restructuring the way they do their things, which is funny given the name podcast comes from Apple anyway.
That's right. Yeah. So available anywhere, chance, and goes begging.
Does. Should have thrown to the receiver there. Instead went for the stumps and missed. And they move to 5 with 2 balls remaining.
So a cumulative total score of 205 as per the predictions, certainly looking on the money here. And this Hoppers side, they'd back themselves to be able to chase down anything north of 120. So it'll be, it's going to be very, very interesting. There's just some players there in that Hoppers side that make a world of difference. Bryony Polkinghorn in particular, Tamsin Wright, and Sue Rose.
Driven into a partner there. The deflection sends it into the side net for 3. And 10 runs off the first over. Very similar start to that of the opening partnership. Annika Leroyd represented New South Wales at the Opens level and New South Wales country as a junior. Chloe Johnson debuted at the New South Wales Opens level this year, and she too is a junior from the New South Wales countryside. So plenty of experience for 2 young ladies. Always comes in handy in an event like this one. Oh, and we're back underway with what an amazing piece of fielding from Bryony Polkinghorn. No, well, it's been given and then undone. So what's happened? What's happened here, ladies and gentlemen, is the ball's been hit for 5. A great piece of fielding from Bryony Polkinghorn. She's flicked it back here, and look at that. The bail is alight, but it's still on the stumps. Have you ever seen the stumps get hit that hard and the bail not dislodge?
Well, she's absolutely hammered it.
Yeah.
And they're still questioning it. And
well, it's 5 runs.
The bail hasn't come off.
Yeah.
And who struck that ball? So did they? Because I'm pretty sure they came back and swapped back. So
it was Chloe Johnson who struck it. Yeah. So and she shouldn't be on strike.
And then they've just walked down.
No, that's correct. So Chloe Johnson's hit it. Brum's given it out.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
He's given it out and then seen that the bail hadn't moved and reversed his decision. And they were looking to then run them out while they were doing what they're doing now. But I think the ball's dead, really. I mean, discretionary, but the bottom line is once the umpire starts talking to a fielder about something, the ball's dead, yeah? So an eventful way to get 5 runs on the board. I'm not quite sure what the delay is now. Maybe they're getting, yes, they are in fact replacing the bails. Wow, look at that. They're not happy with the bails that light up. We've got the old plastic ones on and ready to get back underway. Maybe these ones will fly a bit more, Lowy.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the rationale is with that one there. But quick chains, and that one goes for 5. The big scoring continues. And look, I don't have any problems with an official changing their decision. In fact, I encourage it because the right decision was made. But there's no requirement to call dead ball or for play to stop or for anything to happen. Once the play's done and complete, you can make any decision that you like. I mean, I'm very content with everything that's occurred out on court, but there's been a few times where umpires make decisions. It's just you got to live with it. It's not out. It's 5 runs. What a funny old play. And you're right. That ball was thrown with a great deal of force.
It didn't just get a feather on the stumps.
Yeah.
That hit the stumps
Hammered
rock
it.
solid. Yeah. So I'm actually not that surprised that the bails got switched after that. If I'm Bryony Polkinghorn, I'd be saying, "Yep, replace them, please."
It just must have been absolutely perfect where that ball's just gone straight through the stump, because any kind of little touch on those stumps, you'd expect that ball to come off with the way that it was hit.
Yeah. Flirting with a little bit of danger there is Leroyd, but the score still, it's on 27. Well, impressive batting here from these two. They look pretty content to just go at all of these Hoppers Crossing Hurricanes bowlers and dictate some terms. They're doing it well. Some interesting decisions here for Polkinghorn, the Hurricane skipper, as to how she responds to this onslaught from the Mavericks. I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times that you expect these to be high-scoring games, so wouldn't necessarily be panicking about where things are at the moment, but still, Mavericks ahead of where the Hurricanes would want them to be. An opportunity at the keeper's end. Johnson gets home.
And you're quite right. There is a difference between expecting there to be high scores, but also when you're getting a bit belted around a little bit. And they're 27 halfway through this batting partnership. That is excessively high. That's a lot more. Yes, a lot of runs, but that is excessive. You know,
Well, depending on your point of view.
Yes, depending on your point of view. If you're a mid-North Coast player, then it's not enough. But if you're looking right down the sights of a plus 50 skin, which mid-North Coast are, if you're a Hoppers player, that's too much. Run really should have been taken there, but that's okay. They had good communication, and just kind of ruining that a little bit is Leroy, who kind of grimaces and goes, yeah, we probably should have taken it.
Well, gee, that one's kicked up. They've got to run and they get through. Riding their luck a little bit, the Mavericks, but doing it well. 60 runs on the board with, well, 8 deliveries still to come in this pair. And that shot is typical of this partnership for me. That was just placement.
Yeah.
Didn't try and smack that ball too hard at all. Just hit it brilliantly into the gap and gets 3 runs for it. Final ball. Well, that one, on the other hand, was a big heave-ho.
The wind almost knocked me off my chair back here in the com box from coming off that bat. And, you know, the nets in indoor cricket, I'm going to say something that's acutely obvious to everyone. The nets aren't that far away. You don't have to belt the cover off the ball to get to the net. And that 3 zone, again, I'm making this completely up, but, you know, what is it? 6-7 metres away. You know, you can just tuck it into the spine. There's just perfect placement for the 3 and no risk associated whatsoever.
Well, it will be the Hoppers crossing skipper, Polkinghorne, to bowl the 8th over, the final over to this pair, and some work to do here for the Hurricanes. Can the Mavericks continue this run onslaught? Again, just punched into the gap, punched well for 2.
And if they can get through this Polkinghorne over without conceding a wicket, not only does that bring the new batting partnerships in on a good foundation, but they've also seen off one of...
Oh, my word, Cameron! Don't you just love that?
Cameron Walter, baby!
What a shot.
Oh, that's good indoor cricket.
The thing I love the most about that is Johnson looks like she's just gone for a walk down to the shops. Like she's just punched that.
Oh, man, Cad Briney Polkinghorne. You didn't.
That's unbelievable.
That is going in the highlights reel. Briney Polkinghorne, slap your wrists. We're talking about an Australian Open ladies player from 2010, won 3 World Cups, Monica Brogan medalist, International Player of the Year, gets absolutely punched for a beautiful shot, and then Mancad's the next one after it.
Oh, well, you got to learn that. I was just talking about Johnson looking like, you know, she'd gone for a stroll down the shops. It was as easy as you like, and as easy as you like, she was out of her crease just a fraction early. And you can't do that against Briney Polkinghorne, especially after you've hit her for that sort of a shot. And the first Mancat of the tournament, folks. Good times.
So, Briney Polkinghorne, do you reckon she's competitive or what?
Oh, no. Not at all, mate.
Oh, well, that's going into my memory bank forever, that one. Good running. Very good running. It's just like the over before where they didn't go, this time they did go, which is great stuff. They learnt from that lesson. It was Leroy who was on her bike pretty quick.
Final ball of the partnership. Oh, the old Fully beats Leroy to finish, and a great over in the end from Polkinghorne. She got sent for a couple of lovely shots from these 2 quality batters from the Mavericks, but answered with a Mancad, finishes with 1 for 4, but 37 runs on the board. It could have been uglier.
Yeah, look, it really could have been, because they were like, what, 29 halfway through, or thereabouts. You know, we were talking about as well, if no wicket fell in that Polkinghorne over, it would have been a real win for the Mid-North Coast side. But, and look, to be fair, and Mancad's absolutely part of the rule, they're there for a reason, don't have an issue with it in the slightest, but no dismissal was actually taken with the ball per se in general play. It was a Mancad that affected it. So they actually did their job quite well there, did Mavericks, but unfortunately just sneaking out of the ground at the non-strikers and cost them. So pretty good performance overall. Very good performance.
Interesting that Polkinghorne's pulled that out this early. I mean, those that know her knew that was on the cards, but now everyone at the tournament knows that's on the cards, and they'll be watching for that. Maybe that'd be nice to have up your sleeve in a final where...
catch them by surprise.
Yeah, that's right. So Janine McKenzie and Melissa Muse are at the crease for the Mavericks. And Alana Meison's bowling her second over and gets a pretty easy wicket, courtesy of, well, a complete lack of communication from the two Mavericks. They have a little bit of a chuckle to themselves, but they've just handed that one to the Hurricanes on a silver platter. Here it is on the replay, thanks to playcricket.com.au, where you can find your local centre. The old yes, no, you're out. Moves them back to -3. And they'll need a few more of these, the Hurricanes. Nice, it continues. And through for 2, despite the direct hit from Tamsin Knight.
And again, the umpire's called dead ball there for an equipment adjustment. There's no requirement to call dead ball on that. The play can, again, don't really mind in the slightest. I'm just being a bit nitpicky and padding here a little bit while we've got a stoppage in play. But there's no requirement for the official to call dead ball.
Yeah, look,
why does it have to be dead?
I agree. I mean, back in my umpiring days, I remember all the batsmen would ask me all the time, oh, can I have a dead ball? Oh, it's gone for 7, has it? It has indeed. The big shot from Janine McKenzie, the former New South Wales and Australian Masters player. And their handy runs. But yeah, to your point, remember being asked all the time, oh, I want that ball to tie my shoelace up. Mate, you're in your crease. Just do it. Yeah. I'm not going to stop the game. Top ball, 1 to come. An opportunity, Liz Pearce to Polkinghorne. The throw's a little wide. The diving Polkinghorne can't get it back onto the stumps. They finish with 7 runs from the first over, even with a wicket. So the ebb and flow of a high-scoring, high wicket-taking game continues. 74 runs on the board. Exciting cricket, whichever way you look at it here in the National Indoor Cricket League Final Series. Hughes will be on strike.
They've brought on Hayley Landy, who's an absolute gun. You'll expect to see wickets here, at least a couple. She's the leading wicket taker for her team. She's taken 19, in fact, during their team's NICL campaign. An exceptional player, so get ready for a wicket or 2.
Queensland expat, as I understand it. Lowy started playing juniors for Queensland before making the move to Victoria. Did Hayley Landy, and has won 2 national titles, player of the final in this year's under-17s. So it speaks to your comments. Pretty handy player is Hayley Landy.
Oh, Queenslanders in all sports are pretty well known for poaching players from other states, mate. So sometimes we've got to let some of our champions out the gate.
Everywhere's in Queensland if you need it to be.
Mate, it is, mate. It sure is. There's pretty big border protection there from Queensland and New South Wales. We check very vigorously our athletes that are leaving, but pretty free to let them in.
2 to the total from Janine McKenzie. Pretty big leg side, that one. Floated up. Oh, it's going to be a dot ball in the end. It was a chance for Landy. That would have been quite a catch. Thought the deflection was going to result in a large piece of runs for the Mavericks, but they didn't move. So happy to sit on 12 after 2.
Yeah, we just have Ellen Hetherington coming down and having a discussion with the official about something, not too sure what it was, and coming back along with the vacant court to the right-hand side, which is also always pretty handy, isn't it? You've been a part of teams where you've coached them for many, many years. It's good to have that availability to have a chat with your batters as you're going through?
Or the umpire.
Or the umpire.
I remember coaching a junior team at Liverpool once, and you don't have, the courts are next to each other like this. And I ran onto the court while an umpire was talking to my player to say what's going on. He sent me off pretty quickly. I don't blame him. I mean, that's the silliness of it. If there'd been a vacant court, I could have stood in the corner
That's
and
right.
had a conversation.
Exact same spot.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Exact same spot. Well, the Mid-North Coast, they're surging ahead here. They've been pegged back a little bit by the Hoppers Hurricanes, but still a batting partnership like this is nothing to be sneezed at. It's just the first two were exemplary. Did not really picking the spin here. The Sue Rose delivery is just being floated up over that eye line, making it tricky for the batters. So the third ball opportunity that presents itself. The score's on 80. I promise you that it won't be 80 after this delivery.
Oh, that's Boulder. What delivery. That is to convert the third ball into a wicket. Sue Rose, the Victorian Hall of Famer. Check this delivery out. Muse advances. And, well, top of leg stump. Thank you very much. Yeah, Sue Rose, Victorian legend. Masters 13 years. He's coached the 17 side for 10 years, the 22 side for 15 years. For 5 years, and a single year as a Masters coach. So pretty well known down there in Victoria. Sue Rose. Wow, now she's on a hat trick.
Well, maybe she might get inducted into the Victorian Hall of Fame all over again. Give her 2 plaques.
Well, this is a big fight back now from the Hurricanes. Wheels falling off this partnership. We were looking at a pretty ominous score there for a while. But a couple of quick wickets has really pegged them back. Muse sees off the hat-trick. But the damage done, what an over from Sue Rose. The score's back to 72. 1 over remains now in this batting partnership.
And look, it's not that these two batters out there are particularly poor, because they've been scoring quite well in their tournament and on the Mid-North Coast for their side. But it's just this Hoppers Hurricanes side have really put a good last 3 overs together, which has made it a little bit tricky. Obviously, the injection there of Sue Rose for the Hoppers crossing Hurricanes was a very timely one. And Claire Haynes will come in. She'll be playing indoor cricket for almost as long as some people have been alive in the NICL competition, playing for over 20 years.
Wow, another gift wicket. Well, coming as a result of just some non-existent communication. Janine McKenzie advancing. Muse never really interested in the run. And McKenzie, well, not looking at her partner. And, well, 3 or 4 metres out of a crease. An easy wicket sends this pair back to 0. Played through the gap for 2. The Hurricanes, of course, the champions of the Victorian West zone in the National Indoor Cricket League. They got up over the Kings by 20 runs in their final earlier this year. And the Mid-North Coast Mavericks, big win in their zone from New South Wales over the Newcastle Steel, 109-63. So that's how those two sides got here, winning their respective titles.
Yeah, and in that game for the Mid-North Coast Mavericks, Joe Borger played an absolute thriller, scored 22 runs and took 1 for 7, so you'd expect to see her do pretty well in this game as well.
Quick shout out to the sponsors of our respective teams as well. Southbank Auto Repairs for the Hoppers Hurricanes, and GN Painting and Decorating for the Mid-North Coast Mavericks. Thank you to both of you for your support of these two champion sides. May they go well for you here, as Janine McKenzie narrowly avoids copping one to the scone. may they go well here in the final series for you. Thanks again for your support. One ball remains now in the third partnership. Oh, it's just punched away for 3. Very soft hands there. Gets them back to 12, but a big fight back that was from the Hurricanes in that partnership. It brought the score 79 now, 4 overs to play. Very interesting little 4-over period coming up. It is the first round game here in the Women's National Indoor Cricket League. We're coming to you live from Action Indoor Sports, Toombul. Cameron Walter alongside Gary Lowe, and thank you for joining us as we take you through this, one of many games coming to you here this weekend during the final series. Going right through to about 9:30 tonight, and we kick off again 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and go all day with indoor cricket action. And the finals of the finals will come to you live from Sunday morning. So stick with us throughout the tournament, not only on this channel, but we've got a live stream, sans commentary, mind you, of one of the other games taking place right now. Check it out. Here's Hayhurst. And it's Jo Borger who just hit that first shot, and her partner Georgie Martin now on strike for the Mavericks.
And mentioned Jo Borger's name during that big win they had in their final, and she really is a player to watch. She is a current New South Wales Opens player. She's been averaging around about 15 in the tournament for her side this season. Oh, that's fallen safe. That could have been very easy been out. She has a nice little chuckle to herself, and why wouldn't you, Georgie Martin? She's got away with absolute murder there. So, yeah, Jo Borger there at the striker's end. Expect some big runs from her today.
Another 2 to the total. God, I just started having flashbacks to when I played Masters here at this centre and had probably one of the worst tournaments from an individual in the history of indoor cricket. I just had a flashback to getting bowled, I think, 3 times in a row on this court.
Did
so,
you?
Yeah, that you said got away with absolute murder. Well, I certainly didn't. Yeah, now I'm going to have nightmares about that again. That's why I'm up here in the box.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Last ball.
3 times, you reckon, in a row?
Oh, I think I got out about 6 times in the innings, but 3 of them were in a row. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. It was pretty ugly. I think I was captain coach too, so yeah.
Oh, that makes it infinitely worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Follow my lead, guys. Oops.
Oh no, I've always coached on the proviso that you do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to coach at all. So 88 on the board. Still a possibility of that sort of 120 run mark here, which, I mean, you've put the Hurricanes down to score 120 plus.
Yeah, they will.
So that's what the Mavericks need to do. They've got 3 overs within which to get there. Interesting times, Lowy. Let's see what happens. Is Tamsin right? Uppish, falls safe, 2 runs.
And look, at a minimum, they'd want to be looking at 105, 110. That's pretty achievable from where they are at the moment. I think it's going to need to be 120 plus to win. But, you know, perhaps the Hoppers Hurricanes have their worst batting performance and the Mid-North Coast Mavericks have their best bowling performance. And when those two meet, it's not enough to get to 110 or 115. So just keep building, ladies. You're doing well thus far. It's a good shot.
Deflected off the non-striker and the receiver and finds the side net for 3. Could have been 5. So if the ball's there to hit, these two certainly will do it and may need to. Get out, ladies and gentlemen. Gary Lowe's on his feet.
Here in the commentary box, we've got quite a tall windowsill that we need to battle. And for those who haven't seen me in person, I'm about 3'0". Oh, skittled, gone, playing across the line.
Big wicket too, just as they're in a position where they can get to that 120 odd mark that you've set as a benchmark for them, Lowy. Tamsin Wright comes up with this one. Yeah, it's the wrong shot to play, wasn't it? Across the line. Very handy wicket there. Score back to 90, 1 ball to come in the 14th.
And I'm sure that Jo Borger's just probably gone down there and just had a little bit of a chat to Georgie Martin, just saying, let's play a little bit straighter, just hit those nets. And that's a much better shot. Still up-ish, but certainly
the right line.
Shot, correct.
Yep.
Yes, very much so.
So that over comes to an end. Georgie Martin, along with Joe Borgia, part of the current New South Wales ladies side. Georgie Martin also part of the under-17s New South Wales country side. So young player, but good enough to be playing at the Opens level. Certainly good enough to be playing here in the National Indoor Cricket League final series.
And even, there's obviously a points allocation for each of these teams. Think of it, folks at home, there's a bit of a salary cap, if that makes it a little bit easier. You can't just stack a team full of representative players. And the particular level that you achieve in the sport determines the kind of points you have. So Bryony Polkinghorne, for example, carries 35 points coming into this game.
If it were possible, she should carry 50.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Double it, triple it even. But you look down the Mid-North Coast Mavericks side, and 6 of the 8 players all carry points. As that one's hit and the wicket's taken, the score moves back to 88. There's only 2 players that don't have some level of representative honours, which is quite astounding.
It's funny the way the point system works, and it's why it'll always be sort of semi-controversial. You could be the captain and the best player in a state side. You could be the captain and the best player in the best state side, or you could be the reserve player in the side that finishes last. So there would obviously be a disparity between your skill levels, but you're still good for the same amount of points.
Yeah.
So it is completely objective in that sense. Maybe there does deserve to be some sort of subjectivity to the point system, but how would you do that? And I mean, the minute you introduce any subjectivity into something like that, it becomes even more controversial. So,
and I wouldn't want to be the guy making those kind of decisions. Mix up. Bryony Polkinghorne takes it at the non-striker's end.
Non-receiver.
Where's that spot? I mean, I've been doing a lot of indoor cricket over my years, but I don't think there is a place where there's a non-receiver's end.
It's anywhere other than where Bryony Polkinghorne is. All right, one to come in the 15th. Again, the Hurricanes are continuing their fight back, really taking control of this game at the moment. If you believe Gary Lowe's estimate that they're good for 120 runs, they're very much firmly in the box seat. And I tell you what, Lowy, if they stay in the 80s here, the Mavericks, and the Hurricanes end up scoring 120-something, your 205 total for the game is going to look pretty good.
My same-game multi pays off. Wonder what the bookies would have had that at.
Final over of the Mavericks innings. I'd be interested in their approach to this low. Do they think they've got enough runs, or do they think they're well behind? Do they attack, or are they just going to play it as it comes? Here's Polkinghorne.
Look, it's tricky. I don't know to what degree or what level the Mavericks have done their homework on these teams coming into it. They could have done a little, they could have done a lot. Not everyone is an indoor cricket nerd like yourself, and I'm going to throw you into it too, yourself and myself. And that falls short that, watches a lot of indoor cricket, and particularly for myself this season with the NICL, watched every single game. So know a fair bit about these teams. They should know it's not enough. But whether they do or not, I'm uncertain.
Sharp catch there on the 3 line. They're difficult to judge, these ones, which is what makes it sharp. It was hit high on the bat, so if you're a fielder and you're responding to the swing, you can easily misjudge it if the ball comes up higher on the face of the bat than it did, but it was well caught there on the 3 line by Alana Myson. And an opportunity for a run out here. She can't gather the ball, but even more damage inflicted this over. Unsurprising given the calibre of the person bowling it. 2 to come, and what was looking like being 120 odd, it's probably going to stay in the 80s. Final ball. Border on strike. Well, an opportunity, a direct hit. She's home. It's just a single. And the Mavericks have posted 88 runs And that was quite a fight back there from the Hurricanes. They were down and out after the first 2 pairs, but they didn't go away. They came back and really restricted the run scoring there of the Mavericks. They've done a great job to keep them to 88. Probably not enough based on the run scoring ability we know that the Hurricanes can come up with. But it's enough to keep them in the game. And the game indeed is the first round game here at the Women's National Indoor Cricket League. I'm Cameron Walter, and with me is Gary Lowe. Thanks so much for joining us here. Coming to you live from Action Indoor Sports Toombul. Thanks to our broadcast partner, Sportscast Australia, and the official ball supplier of this and all of Cricket Australia's indoor cricket events, Burley Seacombe, the gold standard in indoor cricket ball. 88 runs on the board. So what do you need? You need 117 to get to your. Is that right?
Yeah, to get my 205 plus.
Yep.
And 205 is a win as well, mate. By the way, it's not more than 205. 205 is a win. So yeah, look, and that's well within their wheelhouse here for the Hoppers Crossing. Mid-North Coast Mavericks, gee, they got off to a fly, didn't they? 67 after 8 overs, and then you only come out with an additional 21 after the second half of your batting performance. So I'm sure that that'll be something that they'll be looking at. And can also say that the last batting partnership, who scored 9, are 2 very, very good batters. I mean, they're 2 New South Wales Open ladies players, for crying out loud. So it was just that Hoppers really started to get their act together. Perhaps just coming out of the blocks a little bit slow, but as they rounded the bend, old Winks hit her straps and started coming home pretty strong, and it's exactly what happened. It's a good effort to only concede 21 from 8 overs.
So if you're the Mid-North Coast Mavericks coming out with 88 on the board, and you know, let's assume that they do, that the Hurricanes are good for 100 plus, 120 plus, what's the approach got to be? Do you try and attack a particular pair? Do you just try and stay in the game as long as possible? What would you do if you were in their position?
That's a really good question. I think the Skins...
I'm doing the interviewing now, pal.
I think the Skins come into it to a certain degree. 30 is a pretty healthy skin to target. So it, you can... 37 is where you're going to bowl a couple of your weaker bowlers. So that's what I'd be doing anyway. Joe Borges, someone who I'd be having in mind. Same with Georgie Martin and Heather Hetherington. They're probably 3 of their strongest bowlers. So I'd be surprised if I didn't see them bowl early doors. But I'd also be looking at who's coming out. So Janelle Hayhurst and Tamsin Wright are coming out. Okay, so they're really good. I mean, they're Bryony Polkinghorne kind of caliber of players. So throwing some heavy firepower at these 2, I think, would be well advised. So they're the 3. Ellen Hetherington, Joe Borja, Georgie Martin. I would be shocked if one of those 3 weren't bowling in the first or second over.
Well, both teams have got it all to do. 16 overs remain in the match. 88 runs on the board for the Mavericks. This is the second of several games we've got for you today, coming to you again, as I said, from Action Indoor Sports Toombul. Stick with us throughout the day. We've got some more men's indoor cricket action coming up after this. From 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, it is the Mackay Magic and the Northcote Knights in the first televised Pool A game in the men's division. And after that, another women's game, Scorpions Hurricanes, and then men's Pool B game, the Burrows up against the Sharks. But for now, we're back underway. Full and wide to start, and it's a dot ball. Hayhurst playing over the top of that one.
And it is Georgie Martin who is bowling first, so I was hoping that it would be Georgie Martin, Joe Borja, or Ellen Hetherington to be bowling the first or the second, and they've done that. I think that's good.
Single gets Hayhurst away. And Wright will face her first ball.
So again, when you make the decisions on who is bowling, it is important to consider who is batting. I mean, you look at Janelle Hayhurst on strike at the moment, Victorian Open ladies player. from 2000 to 2017, missed 2018 and then played 19. You know, what an incredible talent. And then the young lady on strike now, Tamsin Wright, Victorian Open ladies player, 2012 to 17, also missed 18 and played 19. So we're talking about two real stalwarts of the Victorian Open women's side.
Yeah, lots of quality indoor cricketers down there in Victoria, and unsurprising to see them amongst this champion Hurricanes side. And lovely 2 to finished for Tamsin Wright. 7 runs on the board for the first over. I think that always bodes well for a batting side when they're pursuing, well, any total, I guess, is when you've got the ability to come out and just play some sort of cool, calm and collected cricket, then you have some firepower to come. So if you're ahead of the game, then the firepower can come and do the same thing and just get the job done. Or if you fall behind par, they can come out and send some balls into the back court and try and resurrect an inning. So, well, they're fairly fortunate, the Hurricanes, to have that sort of a lineup. Well, that's a no ball over the waist from Chloe Johnson. Pretty vicious, actually.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nasty one.
It's really bread and butter there for Tamsin Wright. I don't think you can afford to be anywhere around her off stump, certainly not outside of it. They really need to be trying to target her legs.
Yeah, where they got the first deliveries right, they just got to make sure it bounces first on the way down.
Yeah. Well, having some trouble with control here is Chloe Johnson. Bowl 2 of those in outdoor and you're good for getting dragged.
Giving the hook.
Yeah. Left alone, but deflected into the corner.
I'm surprised no appeal.
Got to appeal for that, don't you?
I'm surprised. Oh, I reckon it was. I mean, you have another set of stumps there. It's probably still not even going to hit that, but still, no shot. Just getting it a little bit wrong here is Chloe Johnson.
It's just struggling for some control, and see a skipper running up to have a chat to her. Could be that humidity. We were talking about it before, the Queensland humidity. The ball will be a little bit more damp than it usually is. If you're not used to it, it'll be tough to control. Said there's always a bit of humidity on the mid-north coast too, but who knows? She gets the last one, well, placed better than some of the others. 11 runs from the over though, and these two are on their way as a result. 18 runs after 2. Tell you what, this is fairly long sort of mid-pitch conference for between overs. Plenty of time, I suppose, but it's all pretty casual, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. They're kind of solving all the world's problems there in the middle of the court at the moment, taking their time. I guess they're wondering what on earth they're going to do to stop this Hoppers Hurricanes juggernaut moving forward, because at the moment it looks as though they're going to be able to collect the first skin with considerable runs on top as well. So looking down the barrel of 40-plus first batting partnership.
Janine McKenzie is bowling the 3rd over. Great drive, deflected. Ends up just being a single. And that was hit with some authority by Hayhurst.
Yeah, it's a shame it only gets 1, because wasn't it just a picture of a shot? I mean, that would have been 4 runs at the Gabba. But unfortunately here at Action Indoor Sports Toombul, it's only the 1. Beautiful high elbow hitting through the ball. Absolute peach of a shot from Hayhurst.
And as you say, only a single for it. 2 to come. See again, Tamsin Wright is too good at anything that she's got any room to play it. Just that late sort of chop down up shot can put it wherever she likes, and they're sort of persisting with a middle off and outside off line with her. It's not working. Last delivery. Ooh.
A funny old leave, that one, wasn't it?
It was. It's called fair. Brings the over to an end. 6 runs from it, so a slightly better one for the Mavericks, but still 24 on the board for the Hurricanes as they continue on their way. Don't forget, though, the first 2 pairs for the Mavericks put on 67 between them, and then things went downhill from there. The Mavericks would, despite this good start from the Hurricanes, they'd be hoping they can reproduce something similar.
Well, it's always on the cards, and although 88's probably not the score that they wanted, as they bowl Ellen Hetherington, which is the second of the 3 players that really should be bowled in this first 4, and they've done so. You know, 88's not as much as what they want, but they've still got plenty of runs in hand here. Do you know what I mean? They only need an over or 2 to really change this game, but wickets is a must. As poor old Leroy there on the 3 line had no idea where that ball went as it came off the non-striker's bat.
Yeah, Hayhurst
still doesn't know.
I'm not sure what her bat was doing up in the air like that, to be honest, but yeah, managed to take some runs off her partner. Driven straight. There'll be a dot.
So the skin comes into a bit of an equation here. 4 deliveries remaining, 6 to win it. You don't want to tie it up at 30 because 37's an awfully big skin coming second.
Oh, and an easy wicket there. A big one for the Mavericks, just as you were saying, Lowy. The skin very much in play. That makes it pretty tough now for the Hurricanes. Here it is. The shot was straight. She set off. And, well, Mackenzie, is it at the back? No. Joe Borger, excuse me. Just a little two-handed.
A little scoop in it.
Yeah, assist towards the stumps.
Scooping water out of a sinking ship.
Yeah, that's a big wicket, that is, for the Mavericks. It's been all the Hurricanes so far. They haven't really looked troubled at all, and that was a bit of a gift of a wicket, really. And what an impact it's had. It's made the skin look very difficult.
Well, this will be a drive to the back net for sure. They're going to be chasing this skin.
Straight field seems to agree with you. No.
Just can't get bat on ball. Well, the skin's won by the Mavericks, which is an outstanding effort. And 21 is right on par at the moment if you're the Mavericks, I guess. You wouldn't want to be leaking any more than that per skin.
Oh, through the gap. Well played. 3 runs to finish. 24 is the opening partnership, with that 1 wicket proving a key difference. It means the skin goes to the Mavericks, and they'll probably be in the box seat for the next one too. That said, 24 is still above par when you're chasing 88. So forget the skins. The Hurricanes will feel pretty comfortable with it where they're at the moment. It'd be nice if they could win more skins, but if they end up winning this game 2 skins each, I don't think they'll be too disappointed.
No, well, it's certainly the W is much more important than a couple of skin wins. So as long as they can focus on that and skins come second, of course, it's always good to pick them up as they go, but it's not easy to pick up a skin of that magnitude. And it's going to be interesting to see what they did with Bryony Polkinghorne, to see if they were going to send her in to try and chase down a big 37 skin, but
she'll bat last, surely.
Yeah. Yep. I concur.
Melissa Muse will be the bowler. It is Alana Myson with Hayley Landy out of the crease. Alana on strike and blocks the first delivery. It fascinates me the extent to which people are prepared to block in indoor cricket. I used to do it a lot, but I can't bat, so that was sort of my stock shot, you know what I mean? But
you had no say in it, mate.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. Driven straight, should be out. No. Rushed it, I think, Melissa Muse. Probably had a lot more time than she thought. But there's been a few times the Hurricanes have hit straight like that and just set off. Can't get away with that for very long in indoor cricket. Landy's first delivery. Punched well past the leg side fielder for 2. Oh, That's fairly fortunate to fall where it did. It's played in the air and just fell short of Johnson, I think it is there. It's sort of a short cover position. Short extra cover position. Oh, that should be out, surely. Again, just kamikaze running from the Hurricanes. Usually it's been straight and forward of the bat, but I cannot understand what would possess them to run. Chopped it straight. By the look of, in fairness, it looked to me like she probably thought she got that a lot square. She didn't realise that she basically chopped it straight to the keeper, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Harley Landy kind of ran through and then looked to the heavens as if to say, why on earth did I say yes to that one?
Yeah, what am I doing?
So they're going to have a rethink here. Some of us have got three-leg multis on the go here. And we've got some stumps that are going to get. So that's both sets of stumps.
Getting in on the action, mate.
Have gone to the big stump graveyard in the sky. And that'll be the job for the guy or the girl that stocks the fridges and vacuums the courts to no doubt put those stumps back together again.
Anytime you've got an event like this at your centre, you spend 50% of your time repairing stumps. Yeah. I managed a centre that hosted Nationals in 2006, and that was basically what I did the entire time. Stump repairs.
Yep.
Even had people that ran some of my competitor centres hanging out in the office there, building stumps for me. Team effort.
And sometimes you run out of materials for your stumps, like that Apollo 13 scene where we've got to make this thing out of this, you know.
Got to make this fit into a socket designed for that, using nothing but this.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Apollo 13, great film. But, well, I got to say, Loey, perhaps uncharacteristically, but it doesn't look to me like the Hurricanes are batting like they're going to score 120. Yes, they've got plenty of firepower to come, but just some strange decision-making early. Maybe that's a consequence of a mindset, we're chasing a lowish total, but they're not batting with that sort of authority that I would have expected from them, and they're making life difficult for themselves, I think, as Leroy said. Again, it's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's madness.
Yeah.
Like, they're dismissals that are so incredibly avoidable, and they've done it 4 or 5 times, you know. They really should be on. Add 25 to their total. I mean, they should be sitting around 40, 50 or something like that. But they just keep shooting themselves in the foot here, old hoppers.
And look, that delivery, you could see that Landy played it, took off, which, she probably shouldn't have done, but looked straight at her partner who was running. Yeah. So it's on the non-striker to be, well, hang on, you've chopped that basically straight to the keeper. No. So, look, the bottom line is they're still well within striking distance of 88, particularly with the firepower that they've got to come, but, gee, they're making life difficult for themselves.
But the thing is, mate, they can quite easily slip on the banana skin here and drop this game. They're going to have to be very, very careful.
Oh, well, that certainly helps. Full toss sent to the back net for 7.
And there would have been a little thought in their mind going, oh, how's that for camera work too? It's hit straight to the camera too. Beautiful stuff from Sportscast. Not that they had any say in where that ball was going, but it worked out quite perfectly. But there would have been a small little part of their brain that probably would have thought, you know what, I might just leave this one go for a wide. You know, it's well outside as we watch the replay.
Bang.
How good's that? Bushka. But she's gone, no, it's a fully, it's in the slot. And I'm going to bank this one to the 7 net. Oh, as she does a little bit of catching practice there by Kirsten Smith there in the front court. Could have easily gone to hand. Well, that 7 eases a little bit of pressure, but still, the Mavericks, they're not going away. There's another one.
Yeah, well and truly off the pitch. Brings the over to an end. So, look, we've highlighted some questionable decision-making that the Hurricanes have made in their batting, but with the exception of that no ball then, and perhaps the full toss that went for 7, have to give credit to the Mavericks as well. They're bowling well and keeping themselves in this game. We think that 88's below par in the women's division, and it is. And they're still right behind it, the Mavericks, but they've given themselves an opportunity. They're staying in the game, and that's all you can ask. Except, well, maybe you could ask for more. You could ask for them to have both pairs on neg 10 or something, but, you know.
Unlikely.
Thanks for your company, ladies and gentlemen. The first round game continues here for the Women's National Indoor Cricket League.
And we're getting stumps changed over again, Cameron Walter.
Well, someone's going to be busy in that back office. I hope they've still got time to put on a couple of Chico rolls for me. And down to see them soon.
And they've swapped the non-strikers one as well. So the official obviously wanting to keep the bails that light up as they go.
Well, you know, I'm not sure what purpose they serve if they're not. So the bails used in not test cricket, in one-day international and T20 international cricket rated so that they will not light unless they are in the air and about to be dislodged. So they're used as a visual aid for a dismissal as much as anything else. So if you can't rely on them to be on or off based on whether they're in the air or not, they're not achieving a lot, if you ask me.
And any kind of umpire that says that they're using the lit up bails to assist them.
Is that out?
I don't think
He's claimed it. Umpire Brum's not interested. Well, he's pretty well positioned to see that, Lowy. Let's have a look here on the replay. Tough from the angle that we've got.
No, I don't think we'll ever know the answer, mate.
Well, I think a couple of freeze frames on that, you probably will. It'll be a bit of a blur, but
I reckon that's a bit of a mix up again, ladies, and they've gotten away with it. Gee, I tell you what, it's almost starting to give me the frustrations, mate, watching Hopper's Hurricanes. Yes, I was going to say the irrits, and I thought, come on, mate, use your vocabulary here.
Well, not only was it suicidal running, but it was rushed fielding. They had all day to affect that wicket. Let's take a look here. Back at that catch. Slowed right down. Oh, interesting. Looks out, ladies and gentlemen. Given not out.
Oh, it looks like the unanswerable riddle's been answered.
Brilliant camera angle there. Thanks to the Sportscast team for following that one up. One ball to come now in the 7th over. Chance at the top. Oh, the direct hit. She had all day. She took her time. She threw the sticks down. And they had one turned down earlier in the over, but that one you can't give anything other than out, Gary Lowe.
Yeah, that was a beautiful one. Muse just getting it and owning it like a complete boss too. You know when you get it, you just throw it as hard as you can at the Wilkins-style collapsible stumps.
Oh, haven't heard them call that for a long time.
Yeah, more often to play cricket.com.au stumps these days, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. But I think, does the rule book still refer to them as Wilkins style?
Well,
I think they do.
Let me do a deep dive for you. The last time I read the rule book, it certainly does.
Wilkins style collapsible stumps. It was the centre at Goulburn that used to play with metal stumps. Not good. Not good.
No, not good.
2 runs off the first ball of the 8th over. It's Janine McKenzie who had that catch turned down. As we saw in the replay, she had every reason to be frustrated with that decision.
Now, what I can tell you is Rule 5G, which is Rule 5 is playing equipment, and Rule G category, the stumps should preferably be Wilkins-style collapsible stumps to assist in player safety. The base plate is part of the stumps.
Well,
so
you can't really call that a rule, can you?
No,
it says
preferably.
Yeah, it's our preference that you use this.
And also Rule 2A with the equipment, the 2 set of stumps will be 22.86 centimetres wide. And I would question that from the Bronny Polkinghorne non-dismissal that happened just recently. There'll be the distance of 20 metres.
Oh, what an effort from McKenzie that was.
And she's been unlucky. That's twice. She's had 2 opportunities. And 20 metres apart, and they preferably will be the Wilkins-style collapsible stumps. I suppose from time to time we do see the ones with the rubber base on it, which I suppose would be considered not the Wilkins-style, I guess.
Well, I think the Wilkins style is that they are attached to a base, and that's right. Yeah. Wilkins being the first sort of mob to make them.
By Mr. and Mrs. Wilkins. I'm making that up.
I think you might be. Final ball of the partnership. It's not the final ball. It's gone down leg side. They'll have that again. And, this pair, it hasn't been the prettiest batting in the universe. Or probably more accurate to say the prettiest running in the universe. But they've posted 23, and the Hurricanes still well and truly on track here, ladies and gentlemen. 23 for the partnership. 47 is the score halfway through the innings in pursuit of the Mavericks 88. It is the National Indoor Cricket League Finals. The champions from all of the zones right around the country have assembled here at Action Indoor Sports Toombul for the final series. Series on the line is the National Championship and $10,000 cash.
10,000 Jeezels, mate. What would you do with 10 grand?
Well, married with kids these days, so it's
geez,
probably a lot more boring. Yeah,
a lot of formula.
In the day, it would have been, well, when's the next trip to the Cass? But these days it'd just probably go, well, I shudder. Well, the amount of money it took to bring my whole family up here for this. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You'd probably pay for the return trip home.
Well, you shouldn't have chosen first class, mate. That was probably the problem. Why did you fly business? Why did you do that?
Mate, I normally do that when I'm flying by myself, but I don't do that with the family. Jeez. Be all right when they were all small enough to sit in laps, but not anymore. So Muse has got us back underway. And started, well, with extras. It's Liz Pearce at the striker's end. That one a dot ball. Her partner Claire Haynes is at the non-striker's end. Been around indoor cricket down in Victoria for some 20 years. It's nothing wrong with the line of that delivery, but with two fielders on the offside, the left-handed Pearce and the onside fielder in the front court being fairly straight, that's bread and butter to tuck around in the corner for two, and it was.
And you think after playing indoor cricket for 20 years, there wouldn't be many occasions where you get to play for $46,000 worth of cash. So I'm sure a very welcomed inclusion into indoor cricket. Cameron Walters already touched on it, that you're really seeing a tournament full of champions outside of, and we've mentioned it earlier as well, the Strathpine Boroughs in the men's side who finished runners-up. But in that competition, 2 Queensland sides come through. But outside of that, every single team here are champions. Over 70 teams across Australia. We played regular matches between, started around the start of April. I think the first game was 1st of April, 2nd of April. Through to, of course, mid-August. There was 9 men's divisions and 6 women's divisions. And we're looking at all the champions coming together to battle it out. We've already talked about it earlier, $46,000, $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to runners-up, no ball off the pitch.
I wonder if they've remembered to subtract our fee from the 46 grand, Lowy.
Yeah, so if you subtract our fee, that still leaves 46 grand.
Yeah.
So they're doing all right,
so
aren't
maybe
they?
they have. Oh, hang on, aren't you getting paid?
No, right. Hold on a second. Where's my rep? Where's my union rep?
No, we do it for the love of the game, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, it's going to get pretty tough here pretty quickly for the Mavericks. They can't afford to bowl as many wides as they're bowling, but it'll be very simple for the Hurricanes to get through and win this game now. They did enough to win the first 2 skins, and well done to the Mavericks, but I know that I'd prefer to walk away with 5 points rather than 2.
Yeah, and the Hoppers team recognise that they're able to block out a couple of extra deliveries here. There's no rush whatsoever. That will be a 3rd ball opportunity, which Liz Pearce will have to negotiate through when she gets down the other end. In terms of Hoppers scoring 120 plus, this 3rd batting partnership's going to have to leave a total at about, I'd bank on the last batting partnership to get 35. So 85 if they can get to there. 10 runs and over for the next 2, we'll see.
Yeah.
3rd ball, yes, and not picked up on there.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can be switched on as you like and just see a replay, and that's a great delivery, mind you, to bowl on 3rd ball. Full and wide, tough to get back to. If the third ball falls within the same over, they're usually hip to it. But when it crosses over like that, and particularly when the 2 dots were in the previous over, sometimes you catch a batting side napping, and they did just then. The Mavericks, a fairly important wicket for them.
And the umpires will always be on top of that as well. You would have heard umpire Hayden Brum call it out before play was called with the over. Third ball batters, third ball players ready play. Because quite often the umpires miss it as well. Well, not quite often, but it does happen on the odd occasion, and it can get a little bit awkward out there.
Oh,
what a pill! What a pill!
Talk us through it, Loey.
Well, I think at the moment you'll find that Claire Haynes has got no more toes left. They've just been burnt off by a meteor. Watch this. Straight on the money. Bang! That's Wazim Akram style, that, and she knows it too, Haynes. She's like, oh, that's a good one.
And, well, huge wicket again for the Mavericks. We're just talking about the Hurricanes just cruising to victory. And yet again, the Mavericks are finding a way to stay in the game, and it's come courtesy of a second over from Chloe Johnson, with much more control displayed in this than she showed in the first. 2 to come.
Tucked around the corner, possibly caught the umpire's netting, and it did.
I don't know that I'd have 2 fielders on the offside when she's bowling in-swing deliveries like that on the legs of a right-hander. It's all academic now. We won't see it again. Can't gather it there, can Georgie Martin. They get away with it and get 2. But a much better second over there from Johnson, coming up with 2 wickets. The score is on 12 for this partnership and 59 for the total. They're sticking in the game. Gee, this is a big over. Lowy, a wicket or 2 here. And the final pair will have a mountain to climb.
And I'm just going to round 88 up to 90 because my maths isn't that brilliant. So, you know, they're a good 30-odd runs behind. If that's still a pretty formidable total to get for the last batting partnership. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. So if this last over here to be Ellen Hetherington too, a very good bowler here for the Mavericks. So
I like that she's bowling now.
This is good.
Chance. Oh, that one just sort of hit the corner and zinged back at, who's that down there?
Kirsten
Smith, yeah. If that had sat up a little bit nicer for her, it could have been a run out at the keeper's end. As it is, it was a single. Chance at the top, good turn and throw, and that's out. They make no mistake, the Mavericks. They took their time that time. The ball back to the receiver, and a huge wicket for them as this match enters its dying stages. What a turn and throw that was. And Borja makes no mistake at the back sticks. Big wicket, Lowy.
It is. I wish I cashed out my same game multi halfway through this because I reckon it's cooked. But the Hurricanes now, well, are they on the back foot? And how often have we seen that even just in 2 games, and it's going to be the story this week. Weekend, and then someone just coming down and pumping it for 5.
Well, it was another example of hitting it straight and running. Probably fortunate to get away with that again, the Hurricanes. Oh, she's kicked it into the side net. You'd credit both batters with a run there, wouldn't you? You've got to take one for that, Liz Pearce.
Well, she's under absolutely no obligation whatsoever to get out of the way of the ball. But she's certainly put a foot to it. And she's had an absolute gutful of what's going on here at the moment. She's fed up, and she's going to start spanking this Burley Seacombe into a cricket ball.
Well, it's brilliant batting. She senses the occasion. She understands what's happening, that the Mavericks have put themselves in a great position. And what's more, with that shot, until then, she had won the skin, but Haynes goes for a wander, Gary Lowe, who knows to where, and the wicket falls, brings the partnership to an end, and it's all Mavericks. They've won the first 3 skins. Have a look at this. I think she thought she got the ball down into the leg side gap, but it was right next to the keeper.
Why?
That is out.
Why? And why?
Well, as I say, Lowe, I can only think that she thought the ball had spilled into the leg side corner, but
even still, like, you're on 15, you've won the skin. Why not just block it out, not worry about it?
You're just upset that
why?
She's screwing your multi up.
Oh, it's gone, mate. we're having a funeral for that multi later on this afternoon. If you could speak it and do a eulogy for it, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, happy to.
That thing's gone, mate. But
Borgia the bowler, Polkinghorne sends the first ball into the side net for 2, and Sue Rose will come on strike to face her first ball. Sorry to interrupt you, Loey.
yeah, look, even if these two can go out and score 60, which they won't, that still puts the game total at 150, so 205 plus is cooked. But at the moment, don't worry about Gary Lowe's same game multi. Let's worry about the win, because
well, they need 32.
they're going to have to score more runs than any previous skin in the Hoppers innings. Look, they'll pick up the skin, but they could really lose this game 6-1.
Oh, jeebus.
Oh, now she's gone to. Has she gone to affect a man cab there?
I don't
or
think
has she
so.
just dropped it?
Yeah, she's just. I think Chloe Johnson said something to her that she hasn't liked. She's thought, right, I'm going to bowl the ball at you. So she's hit her fielder, and that's a no ball.
Thought maybe it just come out of the hand wrong, trying to do a cheeky man cake. Because I'll tell you what, Bronny Polkinghorne was off and gone. I'm surprised that they don't target the number 9, Polkinghorne, here, after what she did.
Yeah, it's true. It's nothing better than man-catting a man-catter. And a wide to finish the over. It means 6 runs from it, and it's below par. They now need 26 runs from 3 overs. But with the likes of Polkinghorne at the crease, all the Hurricanes need to do is get to that last over and give themselves an opportunity to win. That's really all they need to do. If that means it's got to be sort of a 15, 16 run over, that's game on still. So interesting little period coming up here. Annika Leroyd's going to bowl the 14th over. Hurricanes 26 runs away from victory.
Yeah, pretty tricky customer, Leroy. She's the second highest wicket taker for the Mavericks in their season. So not a bad time to come in. She's taken 9. In fact, the only one who's taken more is Joe Borgia with 14.
Casual 14, you know.
Yeah, sneaky 14 from 9 games.
It's Leroy to Rose. Yeah, well played, it has to be said. Weighted back in her crease and read the kick off the pitch well, and just sort of,
yeah,
that fly swat for 2.
Tricky shot, because you're quite right, reading the trajectory coming off the pitch, you know, as they loop up, the angle becomes more acute. So, yeah, done very well indeed there, Sue Rose.
Well, their approach here is the correct one. They're just milking Leroy for 2s. That's plenty of runs at the moment. Well, not that time.
She might be better served coming forward to those deliveries.
Yeah, the first shot she played was by virtue of waiting and being back, but that one's too straight for her to do that. That's inside the line and left alone, and it'll be 3rd ball. And the final ball of the over. 6 runs from it so far. Another big moment in the match. 3rd ball, what can the Mavericks do? It's, an opportunity there. The slap from Mackenzie, not gathered there, and they get through for a single. Got a good fight back in that over there from Leroy. She was going 2-2-2, and she's come back .1. So again, below par for the Hurricanes. They need 19 runs now from 2 overs low. And
Cameron Walter, you talked about it earlier on in the broadcast, how the Mavericks went out there and they were 67 after the first 8 overs. And then we talked about Hoppers Crossing coming out here when they were 47 after the first 2 overs, after the first 8 overs, sorry. So both teams have got off to belters. Realistically, if you just times both those scores, Mavericks should have been about 132 and Hoppers should have ended up in about 100. But we're not seeing that.
No.
So it's been a real tussle, a real fight, particularly in the second half of each inning. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting what's happening out there at the moment. Good for those students of the game, I think.
It's just a single off that delivery. A great shot for 2 there from Polkinghorne.
And they don't have to do anything crazy. They can do it. Again, as Ken's mentioned, they don't have to do anything more than just do it brick by brick at this stage.
That first ball must have been given 2. It looked like it was kept off the net from me. But yeah, it looks like 6 runs so far from the over. So doing enough, the Hurricanes. Oh, it's misfielded in the side net. It'll be 3. Crucial runs for the Hurricanes. They've now got 8 balls remaining to score 10 runs. They've moved back into the box seat, Loey. Can they withstand the pressure?
Yeah, we've got the 2 horses coming down the main straight at Flemington here at the moment, and it's bobs of the head. At the moment, it looks like Hopper's Crossing got their noses in front just by a little bit. Last delivery of the 15th over.
Oh, a chance, a flick. Oh, I think Polkinghorne would have been home. She sensed that there was a run out on there and she was on her bike. But still, it's game on here. 24 runs for the partnership so far. They will need 8 runs from the final 6 deliveries to win the match. Georgie Martin will have to bowl the over. It'll be Sue Rose on strike with the Hurricanes skipper and Australian indoor cricket legend Bryony Polkinghorne at the other end. What an exciting finish we've got here for you folks to this, the first round game in the Women's National Indoor Cricket League. What's coming up next before we start the over, Loey, for our viewers? Yeah, we've got a couple of games coming up on this channel here at the moment. Anyway, we're going to have the Magic taking on the Knights. So that's the Northcote Knights and the Mackay Magic. 4 p.m. Eastern, folks. Tucked around the corner. And which net did that catch? The side one, so 2 runs to start. 6 runs required now for victory. 5 balls remaining. Polkinghorne on strike. As easy as you like for Bryony Polkinghorne. Another 2 runs. They move 4 runs away from victory now. The skin's well and truly gone. The Hurricanes have got that one, but the game's still on the line. Through again. 87 the score, 3 balls remaining. Mavericks need a wicket now, Loey. Yeah, they do. At the very, very least, the dot ball. Yeah. Oh, and there it is. Left alone by Polkinghorne. I think you'll find that she's backing herself to score 2 off one of these next 2 deliveries, and that's it. That's all they'll need. Yeah, it's a real Michael Bevan type finish here. They've timed it to perfection. And there's the 2, the go-ahead 2. They move to 89, and it's now to Sue Rose to block it out. Yeah, and you may as well replace Sue Rose with a pot plant and just lean the bat up against it, because there's not going to be much going on here. Left alone, and what a win that is for the Hurricanes. They've done it the hard way and only taken 1 skin from the match. The Mid-North Coast Mavericks, they stayed in that game, confounding expectations against the batting prowess of the Hurricanes. And a fantastic matchup. A single run in the first game of the Women's National Indoor Cricket League, Loey. Where was it won and lost? Yeah, well, it's interesting. Both teams really kind of fell over in the second half of their batting innings, as we discussed. I think it just came down to Sue Rose and Bryony Polkinghorne. I mean, having to score 32 off the last batting partnership and timing it absolutely to perfection. But if on the Mavericks, although that's not a win, I take that as a win. Taking 3 skins away from Hoppers, and most of the punters in the grandstand probably would have had Hoppers as heavy favourites going into it. So I reckon the Mavericks, out of this, the story for mine is good on them. They've come out with the goods, so congratulations to the Mavericks, even though they didn't get the W. And we'll see what happens when they play later on tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure when they're playing. The Scorpions. The Stars, my apologies, at 6 p.m. and the Hurricanes are taking on the Scorpions. Well, there you have it. The Hurricanes have posted their first victory of the finals series, defeating the Mid-North Coast Mavericks 89 runs to 88. Coming up next at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, it's the men's Pool A division, the Magic up against the Knights. I hope you can join us then. Gary Lowe, as usual, thanks for your company throughout this match. No worries. Thank you for your company, good sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for yours. And don't go anywhere. As I said, more action coming live from Action Indoor Sports Toombul for the National Indoor Cricket League Final Series. Until next time, I'm Cameron Walter alongside Gary Lowe. Thanks for watching.